All right, so there used to be three of us who were besties, Kim and Jessica. And we did everything together. We hung out together all the time. And then there was this, I can't remember the series of events that led up to this, but for 2 weeks in a row, Kim and I drove, carpooled to some events together. And the second weekend, when we carpooled, we arrived, and then Jessica saw us getting out of the car together, and she was so mad. She wouldn't sit with us. We were at a wedding. She wouldn't sit with us. She wouldn't, talk to us, and she left once the cake was cut. And we're both, Kim and I are like, what is happening? Why is she so mad? And I just figured she'd get over it, because I didn't feel like I'd done anything wrong, so it was she just needs to get over it. And so I waited, and she wasn't getting over it, and I was like, I probably should talk to her. But I just don't even want to deal with it. It's going to be a messy, hard conversation, and I don't even want to, deal with it. She just needs to get over it. But she didn't. And finally I was like, well, if we want to keep being friends, we're going to have this conversation. Even though I was dreading having this conversation. So we called each other and we're chit-chatting, and we called each other. I said, so it's obvious to me that you're mad about something, so let's hash it out and get through this. And she was so upset. She's like, you guys didn't invite me. You were hanging out all weekend, these 2 weekends, and you never invited me. And I was like, well, here's the reason. And I start launching into all the logical, logistical reasons, because we knew that she had somewhere else to be. We knew she had this and that and that and this to go to. And so that's why we didn't ask her, because we knew she was busy. And it was just logistically a better situation for Kim and I. Kim lived on my way to wherever we were going. And so I was trying to explain this to Jessica. I'm like, it's just logistics. And in my head, I'm thinking, once she understands the logic behind why we did what we did, she'll stop being mad. Well, that is not what happened. We're talking, she's like, you rejected, I feel rejected because you guys didn't invite me. And I was like, but just listen to why we did it. And she's like, are you a robot? Do you not understand that my feelings are hurt and you don't care? And I said, well, your feelings shouldn't be hurt, because here's the reason your feelings shouldn't be hurt. Well, partway through the conversation, I was like, I don't know if we're going to be friends anymore. I don't know if we can get past this. And then, fortunately, God helped us. And there's a little click in the middle of the conversation. I can't remember exactly what she said or what happened. And I was like, wait a minute. And I realized we were coming at it we were both kind of I'm right and you're wrong. We're coming at it from two different places, and neither one wanted to listen. She was unable to listen to the logic that I was trying to give her, because she was so hurt and she thought I didn't care. And I realized in retrospect that I was not being a good communicator. And I recently listened to this podcast by Mel Robbins. She's pretty awesome. She has this whole podcast. They're good. Michelle's shaking her head. Michelle knows her. Not personally, probably, but she interviewed this guy, Charles Duhigg. He wrote this book called Super Communicators, How to Unlock the Secret Language of Connection. And she's interviewing him. He's giving basically the three-step program. Whenever you go to see a speaker, they got the three-step program to solving your problem. And he was talking about how super communicators, what they've done is they've studied people who are great communicators. What makes them great communicators? Well, he's like, well, the first thing that great communicators do is they start with curiosity, not correction. They start with connection, not correction. And this was what I missed out on with Jessica. I wasn't trying to connect with her. I was trying to convince her that I was right and she was wrong. I was trying to make her see my point of view, and I was not interested in hearing her point of view, because I just knew that once she could understand my point of view, then the conversation would be done. We'd be cool. And that's not what happened. And so he's like, you've got to start with a question to them first. You need to connect with them first and help them understand that you want to understand where they're coming from. You genuinely want to understand why they think what they think. And that is the critical piece that I missed out on with Jessica. I didn't try to connect with her first. I didn't try curiosity first. I went straight to correction. And that's why our conversation was bad for a long time. And so, we're not the only, every time humans get together, there's conflict. In every relationship, there's conflict eventually. In friendships, in families, in work relationships, there's conflict. Because someone gets an idea and someone else has a different idea. And when we get so stuck in, as I said to Claire, shut your face and listen to me. When we get so stuck in this idea that I'm right and you're wrong, and if you would just listen to my point of view, then you'll agree with me. Then you'll change your errant mind and come to my way of thinking. This is the way we often think. Well, there were these two ladies in in Jesus' time who we don't know a lot of details, but I assume this is where they were. So there's this guy, Paul. Paul was a disciple of Christ. He followed Christ after Christ died, and he started churches. So he'd go start a church, and then he'd move, once they were up and running and good, he'd go start another one, but he would write letters to them. And so he's writing letters to his church in Philippi, and which is, I think, in present-day Turkey, maybe, I don't know. But so he's writing a letter to these people, and he's telling them, we've got to be of one mind. We've got to be this holy colony. I love the Passion Translation. Our goal is to be a colony of heaven, to bring the kingdom of heaven, and we're going to be these mature people who don't squabble. And he says, let's be mature people. And then he's like, hold up. Let's talk about Yodia and Sinchi. So in the letter to the church, he's writing about these two ladies who were having a fight. He's like, I urge Yodia and Sinchi to iron out their differences and make up. God doesn't want his children holding grudges. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. So here's that's about all the information we have about their fight. We don't know what their fight is about, but I can totally see someone walking up to Yodia and be like, Yodia, what's up with you and Sinchi? She'd be like, listen, that woman will not listen. She is hard-headed. Every time I try to talk to her, she just doesn't even pay attention to what I'm having to say. She doesn't listen to me. She thinks this and I think that, and she is wrong, and we just need to get her on the right page. She is so hard to deal with. I don't even want to talk to her. That's how I can see this conversation going down. And then probably the same thing if you asked Sinchi what's happening. Oh, that Yodia, don't even get me started on her. She is so overbearing, and she's such a busybody, and she thinks she's right and everyone else is wrong. But if she would just listen to my point of view, then she would understand that she's wrong and I'm right. And this must have been tearing the church apart, because Paul wrote a letter to the church about it. He didn't write a letter to Yodia and say, Yodia, I love you, but honey, you really got to iron this out. He wrote a letter to the church about it. And the fact that he wrote this in a letter to the church tells me that this fight between these two women was keeping the church from thriving. It was threatening to tear the church apart. Why else would he write it in a letter to the whole church? Why else would he write it immediately after he says, if you want to be mature, you need to follow Christ. If you want the kingdom of heaven to grow, you need to be a colony of heaven working together. Obviously, this fight between these two women, probably pillars, probably leaders in the church, was tearing the church apart and threatening them from thriving. He's like, ladies, y'all got to get it together. But look what he says after he says, girls, get it together. He says, you got to make every effort to be united in the Spirit. He's saying, you know what you got to do first? You need to understand that you're sisters first. You are sisters in Christ before anything else. You need to start with connection. And that's what Durig says. He says you got to start with connection. Durig also says there are 3 types of conversations. Factual conversations, feeling conversations, and identity conversations. In my conversation with Jessica, she was having a feelings conversation and I was having a facts conversation. And that's why we couldn't come together. We were both not able to listen to the other because we were having 2 different conversations. And I can see Yodia and Sinchi being like this. They each think two different things, and if you got down to the root of it, it probably had to do with their feelings got hurt. It probably had to do with their identity was being threatened. Because two people don't have a huge fight about whether or not we stain these pews light colored or dark colored. That shouldn't tear apart a church. But when we get to the feelings part, when we start to connect with the feelings, we start to understand why that person thinks and feels that way. But so many of us in a conversation, we hop right past the feelings and go to the facts. And that's what I did with Jessica, and that's why that conversation didn't work. And so we've got to help people feel like we care about them. This is what Jessica was trying to get me to understand. She's like, I need to believe that you care about me. I need to believe that you actually care that you hurt my feelings. Whether you meant to or not, they're hurt. Whether you wanted to do it or not, it happened. If I'm pulling out on the street and I accidentally hit Elijah and I break his arm, I can't be like, sorry, Elijah, your arm should just not be broken because I didn't mean to hit you with my car. Don't be in pain, Elijah. I didn't mean to hit you. But that's what I was doing to Jessica. Don't be hurt. I didn't mean to hurt you. So therefore, you're not hurt. We've got to connect and make people feel loved and seen and valued. If I hit Elijah with my car, what's the first thing I'm going to say? Oh my gosh, Elijah, I am so sorry that I broke your arm. Are you injured? Do I need to take you to the hospital? How can I help you not be hurt? That's my first thing. Not I was right in the fact that I didn't mean to hit you. But so many people don't do that in these hard conversations. We come at it like rams butting heads, like I'm right, you're wrong, shut your face and listen to me. When instead, the first thing we've got to do is connect. Ask them questions. So I hear that you really want, whatever. I hear that you really want to restain all the pews in the church a dark color from the color they are. Why do you want to do that? And maybe they have a sound reason, and I'm going to say, wow, that is a good idea. They would be, if they were darker, we wouldn't see the stains when people spill wine. Whatever. We got to get to the root of that. What is the root of their belief? It's usually rooted in some sort of feeling. And it's oftentimes when you start to get there, we have that same root. We just have different ways of expressing it. And that's what Durg is saying. He's like, once you start asking questions, you might get to the root and be like, oh, well, I agree with you here. We just have different means of expressing that idea. Okay? So we've got to connect. First, we need to make them feel safe, not judged. We can't come in and be like, all right, tell me why you think that, because I just can't understand it. That is not going to help you. Because now they're defensive, and they don't want to hear what you have to say. Durg actually said that studies have shown that when you try to give people facts, when someone is like rooted in a belief and you try to give them facts about why they're wrong, it actually roots them deeper into their belief. Even though you can give them facts and statistics to prove you're right, it roots them deeper. He says, but if you connect with them, if you start with curiosity and understand the kind of conversation you're having, when they feel seen and loved and valued, then their defenses start to come down. Then they're willing to listen to you. Because when they feel seen and valued and loved, now they're like, okay, now I can see, value, and love you in your opinion too. But when you come at it as I'm right, you're wrong, then it's this. It's locked horns. It's never going to happen. We've got to connect first. There's it says, Paul goes on to say, celebrate God every day, and I mean, like, really. He says, make it clear that you can all meet, that you're on their side. He says, you got to make it, this is right after he's still talking about Sinchi and Yodia. He's like, you've got to make them understand that you're on their side. If people don't think you're on their side, they are not going to come over to your side. When people blast their opinions on Facebook and they're not listening to other people? I mean, how many people really, whether you're Republican or Democrat, like, have you ever read someone else's belief, the opposite, and be like, oh, you're totally right. I should flip the way I think. No. That's not going to happen. We've got to make them feel like we're on their side. We need to be on their side, and we need to make them feel like we're on their side before they'll listen to us. We're not against them. This isn't a us versus them, a you versus me. This isn't a clash of the titans. This is let's two friends come together and come up with a way to move forward together. Stephen Covey says you need to seek, he wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says you need to seek first to understand and then to be understood. You've got to understand them first. There's a reason we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. It's so that we can hear first and speak second. In the Amplified Version, I love the way the wording says, it says you need to strive earnestly to guard the harmony in the relationship. Paul is saying, girls, you got to stop fighting. You're tearing the church apart. You're destroying the harmony of the church. Your fight is destroying the harmony of the church. You've got to guard that harmony. The harmony of your friendship has to come before your rightness. The harmony of the love of God, that loveness, that seenness needs to come first before your rightness. You might be right. And once they feel seen and you understand where they're coming from, then maybe you can speak some truth in love. Truth in love, not truth in, haha, I'm right and you're wrong. It's got to be, hey, I've noticed that you've been behaving this way. Like I have a friend in my life and he's gained a lot of weight and I'm worried about his health. And I'm like, I can't come and be like, listen, you've got to lose weight. That's not healthy. Maybe there's a reason he's this way. Maybe he's on a medicine that makes him gain weight. Maybe he's trying, but he's so overwhelmed with life that he can't lose the weight. But if I come at him like, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm smarter than you, I know how to run your life, he is never going to listen to me. But if I say, hey, I've noticed, like in a non-judgmental way, hey, I've noticed you gained some weight. What's happening there? Man, losing weight is hard. I get it. And now maybe we can have a conversation because I'm guarding the harmony of that. My goal is not to be right. My goal is to touch base with him. And then maybe he will, truth and love. Maybe I will say, like, I know it's hard and I know you're stressed. I also see that your cabinet, your closet is filled with bags of chips. So maybe fill your closet with fruit. How's that sound? You know what I mean? Like, I might be right, but I've got to speak it in a loving tone as I care about you, not just like, I'm right and you need to listen to me. So every week, I offer a dare. 4 practical things, 4 tangible things you can do this week to touch base with God, to connect with God, to connect with this message. And the first one is even hard for me. When I was trying to think of a good, I call it a hook, that story I tell at the beginning, I was like, when have I had a hard conversation? I can think of a lot of hard conversations I have not had because I was like, oh, I think it's going to be messy. So what are some of those hard conversations you're avoiding? Who is one person in your life who you need to have a hard conversation with? There might be 2 or 3, but maybe put them in order. And then pray about it. Practice those opening questions. What are questions you could ask that aren't judgmental? What are some questions you could ask them to invite them in to start to understand first before you are understood? And then ask God, hey, God, am I approaching this person like you want me to, like Jesus would? Am I approaching this person because I want there to be harmony in our relationship? Or am I approaching this person because I want to convince them that they're wrong? And until you can get your heart in the right place, I would not recommend having that conversation. You can read Philippians 4, the 1 through 9. So the first half of the chapter is, and that's the one where it's like, don't be anxious, think about all the good stuff. That's all that same chapter. And then to engage, initiate an honest, grace-filled conversation. Think of that one person that you need to have a hard conversation with. Practice your opening line, and then say, hey, do you want to get coffee? Hey, you want to go for a walk? You want to have dinner? You want to get a drink? Let's chit-chat. Don't be like, we got to talk, because then they're going to come in like, guarded. right? So like, find a way, maybe it's a coworker, be like, hey, do you want to get lunch? And chit chat and catch up. If it's someone who you've been locking horns with, they might be like, what's the problem? But try it anyways. Maybe have that hard conversation. Because hard conversations don't have to destroy relationships. Hard conversations can actually build and strengthen relationships when you seek first to understand and connect. And all of God's children said, Amen.